Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. Well, I wasn't sure. I was like waiting for the indicators. That's like,
We need one of those action signs,
yeah,
right?
action. I need Will, you're back. We
Cheers.
Need action.
There we go.
There we go. That's how we
There we
start
go.
out.
There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. Water. I'm the
Yeah,
water.
you can't.
guy.
You can't. No,
Yeah, you
not
got-
with water.
Yeah, you're not that.
These dang mics are
Oh,
getting
it's
in the way.
flavored water. So
Yeah, it's
okay.
flavored water. It doesn't really work. This was in Jason's refrigerator.
It's probably 3 years old, Chad.
Probably.
It's probably out of date.
Well, if I get the shits, like I'm always like, well, what's the worst that can happen? You get the shits.
Probably.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
somebody's like, oh, that's out of date.
Yeah.
Last year, we found 9-year-old mustard in a refrigerator.
Unless it's like out of date yogurt.
When Haley and I were
Yeah.
were like, we were had not been dating long. Her mom makes dinner. Her mom would cook all the time, and I would eat over there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I was the only person at the time that would eat ranch on a salad.
Really?
Like Haley,
That's the
would,
norm.
Haley would be like honey mustard, and Haley's always honey mustard on salad, or like some kind of vinaigrette or something.
Yeah, yeah.
She'll do that kind of stuff. But I put the ranch on my salad, and I was like, it's got a little
blue cheese.
wang, little wang to it, And I like took another bite, and I was like,
This ain't.
oh, this is not good ranch, So I go back and I grab the bottle and I look at it, and it was like out of date, like 2 years.
Okay.
And I was like, okay.
So here's
But it
your
didn't
question.
kill me.
Everybody, check your ranch bottles in your
Yes.
fridge.
It's like,
salad
that's like the
dressing
running
bottles.
joke. Like I've told Penny a long time. I'm like, she tried to kill me early on. She tried to kill me with some expired ranch, but it did not work.
I love that commercial, which was whatever that commercial is, where they say we have ants, and one of the ants is going through the refrigerator. Expired.
Yes.
Expired. So 9 years is way too far. But where do you guys land on should you follow the date?
Ooh.
Or not? My wife and I had this constant conversation about it.
I think that the date is a suggestion, personally.
Yeah.
I think the date depends on what it is.
Is it dry goods or refrigerated? Because that
Okay,
makes a difference.
so it's categories. So there's a branching logic about how you treat that date. Right?
Well, so for me,
Dry or
dry goods, I can go maybe up to a year over.
a little further?
If it's refrigerated, I'm probably going like a month or two max.
I'm a smell guy.
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if we're talking milk, I'm smelling.
Like anything refrigerated that has that date stamp, it could even be like Greek yogurt or something. Like
Yeah.
if you open it and
Right.
smell
it's a smell.
it's a
true.
smell. Well, like we had a pack of sausage, I think it was Saturday or Sunday morning, and we were going to just do some like sausage biscuits. And
Yeah.
Haley said, well, the date was like the 20th or the 21st or 2nd, whatever it was. And she's like, what? See if it's still good. And I cut it open and I was like, oh, not
Yeah.
good.
You know immediately with pork.
Right.
Yeah.
Bacon,
Yes.
sausage.
Not good. We'll
Not good.
go with something else. So
Right.
I'm with you. I don't want
But you get something like a dry good, or you get something that spices, or and it's
Yeah.
like,
There was some hot sauce in
Yeah.
our
Can
pantry.
it really go bad?
Can it really go bad? You get
I guess
fish sauce.
moisture
I mean,
can get into it, possibly on spices and
maybe. So it's like all these. It's like to that date. I think this is. If it's not one of those risky categories,
Yes.
it's marketing.
Our
It's driving revenue to some degree.
yeah.
At our duck camp, there is not a consensus. There's not a. It's a varying degree, like what people are willing to do. Some of the people in the camp, like the date is the date, and it is thrown away.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things that are perfectly fine get thrown away. Others in the camp are like, well, it doesn't smell too bad. It's like
We'll see tomorrow.
yeah, it's varying degrees of bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's get our guest
right.
introduced
Yeah.
today. Wayne Easterwood
Yes.
is here with us today. Thank you for coming, Wayne.
Absolutely.
We
What a
appreciate your
pleasure.
time. Wayne's from Nashville, Middle Tennessee, right?
Yeah, I've been here about 40 years. Came here to go to college and stayed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So I'm.
You're
Yeah.
tell us where you were born and raised.
I was born and raised in Oklahoma City, suburb Oklahoma City, Del City, right there where the tornado
Yeah, Tornado
Alley
Alley.
is.
And you brought it with you.
And I brought it with me.
The new tornado alley.
That's right.
It's here in Middle Tennessee.
You know, went to college at OU for a couple of years, then hopped over into middle of Arkansas, and then landed here in Nashville.
Middle
At
of
Belmont.
Little Rock. area.
Actually, Arkadelphia,
Okay.
halfway between
Yeah.
Little Rock and Texarkana.
Yeah.
Okay.
By Lake DeGray. Yes.
And,
Ouachita University.
okay. And so your journey from Oklahoma to Arkansas to Tennessee was because of jobs, or
It really was, it landed in Tennessee to work in the music business. Once I found, it was like I was working through college, and once I found out about their music business program at Belmont, and it being a business program,
Yep.
okay.
it was like I was hooked. And I figured out how to get here and came and
Were you hooked on working in music as a whole from a production standpoint, or were you an artist? Were you
it was more working. I wanted to be a recording engineer.
okay?
Okay.
More in the business side. I'd sang. I'd been part of music all my life. Loved music, but all of that didn't really resonate. And sort of arguably the technology part of it. I
Yeah.
look back on it. I didn't know it at the time. I couldn't put those words on it, but the technology component of it is what grasped me. I had a couple of friends in Arkansas that were from the Nashville area, and we started talking, and it was like, oh, I gotta check this out.
Gotta get there.
And we did. I was married at the time, had been married about a year. So we came, and we were newbie young people, you know, in this town. And
Right out of high school, or did you have an
I was
stint
here.
there?
I got married about a year and a half out of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, we were very young.
Yeah, I got married young too.
Yeah. Makes
Gonna hit
three of us.
40, what is this, 2000? I would hit 44 years this year.
44 years.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's great. It is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Highs and lows, right?
highs and lows.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yeah. So I worked in the music business about 10 years. And it turned out to be in for a label, and also just more on the business side, publicity and artist development, that kind of work.
Okay. Did you fall in love with the music business side, or did you fall out of love with it?
Great question. It was tough to have a family and be in the music business.
Yeah.
It was tough to get to a place where you, with a family, that you could say, okay, I'm really gonna support my family in this. And some of that is because it's a space where people they'll work for next to nothing. You know, they want to find
they
their
wanna be
place.
there?
They want to be there. They want to be part. It is a wonderful and terrible.
Yeah.
And again, this was back in the mid to late 80s. And
Is that because they're just trying to be part of something special, like hit it big on an album, or
it's
why is that? You say they'll work for free or little to
it
nothing.
was really is to get their foot in the door, to be a part of what's going on, and to find a place. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's terrible. I mean, there are a lot of industries like that where people are, whether it's politics, I'm going to be an intern, I'm going to be a page, I'm, all that. And here was no different. And the kind of work I was doing, I literally called it FaceTime back then, which is it was always a place to be seen or to see. And I was in publicity, working for a label, so there was always photo op, trying to get a photographer there, connecting with one of our artists that was doing something and get some press on it, and there was always that stirring, and it's a bit of tension. I had a young child, at the time. It was a bit of a tension, and I said, "Wow, this is going to be really hard."
Yeah.
And probably the underlying story is when I graduated from college, my dad bought me an IBM PC. I was $3,000, might have been $4,000 at the time. The months before,
Was this what year was this?
it would have been 84,
80, okay.
probably 84.
Yeah.
84, 85. Yeah.
Is
probably
that
84.
what is that? The Tandy or what?
Well, he had a Tandy.
Okay.
large, big floppies.
Yeah.
Wasn't the 5-inch, it was the 8-inch. Okay, he probably had $5,000 in that, in that device. But the IBM PC.
This was like the first iteration of the regular PC. Okay.
I had been poking around with a Commodore 64, a VIC-20, and had a little cassette deck next to it. It was hooked up to a little TV, and I was programming in BASIC and going like, this is really cool. I mean, sort of that those juices were beginning to flow.
Yeah.
And I took that to my work. Okay, so at work I was writing bios, I was doing tour press, I was sending out lots of correspondence to newspapers, usually in advance of a artist tour, to try to get an interview with them in advance of the tour about the album, and that was and so it was word processing and beginning to build a database and to do some mail merging. I mean, that was like, I got so excited about not having to, do things over and over again, but to sort of automate things. Again, I couldn't use these words then, but when I look on it from now, I get energy when we find ways that technology can lift work off of people.
Yeah.
And they can do the work. I mean, I kind of get chills there. It's like, that's what really gave me energy. I didn't know it then. So in that time in the music business, I could see that stuff developing. I left the label. I worked for CBS, Columbia Epic. I left that and went to work for the Summer Lights Festival, which was a big. If you're a Nashville native, you remember that festival downtown.
Yeah.
Did PR for them, and
Was that a Thursday
I remember
thing?
the name, but
it was a weekend.
Okay.
It was a weekend thing. It used to be on Dedrick between the courthouse and Legislative Plaza, and then the second year I was there, we expanded it down to Riverfront Park, which is new, so it was huge. It was a food and arts and music festival, and it was great. It was a lot of work, and that's the Metro Arts Commission. So there was always this round the year other activities that we did to promote arts. Loved it. But what I realized was I did not love selling stories.
yeah.
Because that was really all about selling stories. And it just didn't jazz me.
Tell me a little bit about that. Selling what story?
Yeah,
Selling
it would
the
be
story of
stories
the artist?
It would be the stories of the artist, the stories of this,
And you were doing that yourself?
Yeah,
you
it
were
was
having
all
to,
about pitching, whether it was the Summer Lights Festival, it was pitching some angle on this artist or this art thing or whatever. And at the record label, it was always about what's the new angle. See, it had to be better than just, we have a new album.
Gotcha.
We're going to St. Louis.
So you learned you didn't like sales.
I didn't like sales. I learned that.
Yeah.
Thanks for picking that up, because I didn't say that as clearly as that. I didn't like sales.
Yeah, because it sounds like a sales job almost.
Yeah.
It was
Sounds
a
like
sales job for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were in the music business until what year? What year did you get out?
I spent about 10 years there. So
Okay.
Early 90s?
85, early 90s, mid 90s. It was
Yeah.
kind of early to mid 90s.
But you found your passion and your love for technology and computers
yeah,
all while
During
doing
that time.
during that time. That was the thing that, I mean, I remember when I bought, the IBM Selectric typewriter that had the parallel interface, because now I could have the word processor type out a page that looked like someone typed it, that was acceptable in business, because that dot matrix stuff looked wonky, and that means you didn't really work very hard. This was like awesome.
Yeah.
And when whoever my supervisor was at the time marked up my, with the red pen and changed this, instead of having to retype the whole thing, made those edits, kicked it out. That was the energizing thing about the technology. So,
Yeah. What do you think about that era versus this era when it comes to technology and what AI is doing today? Is this more exciting for you in 2025, or was the shift in technology from there
so exciting.
so exciting?
It's a whole trade-off of pros and cons, risk and rewards. So I often talk about it like this. I can remember when we used technology. Okay. Today, technology drives so much of our workflow. So it has a ease about it, but it has a critical nature about it. So here's the example. If I was going to use a piece of technology, I might spin my chair and I might use a calculator, a typewriter, even a computer, and then I would receive some sort of answer. Okay, then I'd spin back to the workflow was still usually had some sort of paper thing to it. I needed to know the workflow and I needed to execute the workflow. Today, you walk into a screen and the screen drives me through the workflow. So it's really critical for business analysis or informatics people to really understand how people work and to be sensitive about how that change is going to be received to the user. So it's great. We can ensure accuracy, fidelity to what it needs to happen, but it also can be really disruptive to the way people think. I'll give you 2 examples, and this will get us to the AI.
Okay.
I worked with a physician friend for a long time. She was our chief medical officer, and at the time, this was, probably 15 years ago when she said this to me, might have been 20, and she was 60 at the time. And she and I were talking about electronic medical records and how great and terrible they were in that. She said, let me give you an example. When I walk in to an examination room, I always stand on the same side of the bed. I always ask the questions in the same order. And she says, I think literally the tactile feel of a pencil vibrating on that paper, all of that generates all of what I need to diagnose, to answer the question, to ask the right questions, and it moves me through the process that I have to be very careful about. So I diagnose this and convey this. Right. So now enter electronic medical records. Yesterday the questions were in this order. Today the questions are in that order. Today there are new drop downs. So today it's worded differently. And she says, it isn't terrible, it's just disruptive. Now, that whole generation of new doctors that were coming through, they were in med school and residency and were exposed. I mean, you could almost call them, digital natives as opposed to digital immigrants because they had more practice at it and they were more accustomed to it. So I think that's the way that technology. I'm very excited about it. I am. Now you get to AI. And we'll jump there and we can go back to wherever you'd like. What I've noticed about AI is, for some people, it's moving very, very fast. For the vast majority of us, it is making some things accessible, but we're going to have to rethink the way we ask questions.
Yeah.
Okay? And not have fear about it. Just a little anecdote, I guess, that if you
the way we ask each other questions, or the way we ask AI questions?
The way we use the computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way we use the digital world, the way we use the interwebs, the way we use whatever. Because it really isn't about using AI. AI is going to become a bit of electricity in lots of things we use. If you think about what's available to us today, it's all those products that we were using for the last several years all of a sudden have AI available, right? So it will become this sauce that's part of lots of tools that we use. I think that's the way it's really going to impact a lot of us now. Yeah, there's lots of opportunity for it to do lots of things and in ways that are somewhat edge cases for most of us. Most of us, it's, do I type this in the Google search bar, or do I go to ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Or what? That's the way we do it.
I think we're making that shift right now, right?
I think we are.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, you had a thought. I'll let you.
Well, I think about AI and kind of on this same track and technology, and the way you were describing your path, right? It's not that different than what our path has been. Okay. Will's back with us, our producer. Will grew
Yay.
up.
Welcome back, Will.
Welcome back, Will.
Whoop, whoop.
But our kids, Will, has never not had technology.
You bet.
Right? I almost think that we were at an advantage because we were able to grow with it.
Yeah.
And there's so many people now that have never not had it. So it's more of I don't even want to call it a crutch. It's like this necessity that almost requires you to use it to think, where our generations are not that much different,
Yeah.
right? Like
Right.
where you didn't have a compute, right? A computer was introduced later on in your life. Cell phones were introduced later on in our life. So we've had this ability to grow. Now we've got these generations that always have it.
Yeah.
So I look at this technology and AI and everything that's involved, and I think that there's got to be this like almost like the figurative bumpers at the bowling alley that we've got to put on some people, like that doctor example,
Yeah.
to make sure that you're still using the human element.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Wait, and I'll piggyback off that real quick. Right now, it's a tool, I think, right? We have to learn it individually. We have to fill it out, but eventually,
So is
It's
AI
gonna-
our cell phone?
it's going to be part of everybody's life where they don't have to know how to use it, right?
It's a transformational piece of technology, similar to what the mobile,
The computer, the cell phone. Now AI is next.
I think it's. I mean, I wouldn't want to call it benign, but it's just a tool.
Yeah,
Which is
it's
really
a tool.
what Jason
Yeah.
was saying. It's really just a tool. You know, we had an opportunity not to take this in a different path. We had an opportunity when the fax machine or the email or all of those things, and they were introduced with some amount of promise that these will free us up, right?
Yeah.
But indeed, they haven't really.
They haven't.
They really raised the threshold of productivity expectation.
Yes.
And that's self-inflicted, I think, on many of us. So I think it is that transformational tool that has the possibility to do a lot of things for different individuals. I think it's got that power to be good or bad, or to affect us in good ways, or in not healthy ways.
Yeah, is every new piece of technology that gets introduced to us to free us up actually traps us in deeper into
Yes.
the
I guess-
technology
I get-
stack,
That's kind of where I was
Yes.
going. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about what the cell phone did,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
right? And then, maybe just after the cell phone, it's like it's virtual meetings probably to some extent in 2020 did a similar thing. We found ourselves having a whole lot less of this. We were having a short conversation earlier about, hey, had Wayne ever been on a podcast?
Yeah.
I'm sure that probably started early on, and this is the first time Wayne has sat down
Human to human in the same
human
room.
to human in a podcast.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I have this, Jason laughs. I'm probably the least technical. Like I'm in technology, and I don't necessarily love all the technology.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things where I don't want us to lose. I don't want the Wills, and I don't want my kids, and I don't want Jason's kids to like lose sight of like how important it is to be able to like do it and to figure it out and not rely on,
Yeah.
20
years from now, does AI trap us in even deeper?
right.
Right.
I guess that's my like.
Does it
tragedy.
make us pick up our phone that much more, or maybe we don't have to at that point? I don't know.
Yeah, like is the phone.
We're just more attached to technology,
Yes.
I think, with AI over
Yeah.
time, even more so, right?
I
Because
think
the 5-year-old that learns about AI and how to use ChatGPT, they get a comfort level and they rely upon ChatGPT to answer
Yep.
all their questions or to create all of their paperwork, whatever, right? And that becomes muscle memory. and they just can't get away from it when they're 20.
Right.
25,
I mean,
30.
professors are having to have AI detector tools now
Sure.
to make sure that AI didn't write your paper for whatever class you're in high school or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like that wasn't a thing.
No.
You know, I was lucky. I was lucky.
No,
if
it was a calculator thing back in our
Yeah,
days, right?
I
it
was lucky if I wrote
the calculator.
Yeah.
I probably didn't write the paper to begin with, but you know what I mean? Like it's scary to think that like, okay, now we're having to like AI the AI.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're still at a point where maybe you have to put more work into it to actually use the AI. So you still have to use some brain power and some common sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
eventually that's going to go away, I think, to where it's just built into our lives.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be smart or think outside the box to use AI. But we're not there yet,
No.
right? But we will be.
We're not there. No, well, unfortunately, AI is a term that it's like calling all beverages Coke.
Coke.
It really
That's
is.
a good point.
Because it's the things that are really accelerating quickly are really a handful of technologies that have been around. So here's a definition for you. Innovation is really proven technologies used in a novel way. Okay? True innovation, proven technologies used in a novel way. So whether it's natural language processing, whether it's deep search algorithms, I mean those things have been around for a while. Okay. Now this work that has been done about bringing this huge body of knowledge together and making it accessible, those are pieces of technologies that are proven now used in a really novel way. So AI is a bit of a misnomer when so much of it is, these elements that are now collected and really serving us pretty well. I'll tell you what I did several months ago. If ChatGPT is your chatbot of choice, and if you use Google Chrome, go in and make ChatGPT your search engine. Okay, there's an extension. So anytime you type up in that search bar, it actually opens ChatGPT and presents to you. So I'll give you a silly example.
Are you a
of what it does.
ChatGPT person? Is that your
I am.
preferred?
It's easy for me. I occasionally use the other ones.
Have you gone through the process with ChatGPT for it to learn you?
No,
You haven't done that? Given it your
Not yet.
information? Okay.
not yet.
Hey,
I don't know if I will.
If I make a LinkedIn post, there's a 95% chance that ChatGPT wrote it.
There's a 95% chance.
Yeah, 95%
But
chance.
here's where it helps you. And I'll give you the silly example. There's lots of business examples. So let's say you want a recipe for something. Some great, I don't know, chocolate chip cookies. Okay. If you type that in a Google search, you're going to get Alton Browns and you're going to get, or Good Eats, you're going to get 10 recipes.
And some YouTube videos pulled
And
up.
some YouTube videos. And how are you going to actually find the recipe? The list of ingredients and the instructions. Well, you're going to have to go one of those and you're going to have to jump to the end
Yeah.
because
And then you're going to get hit with ads
you
along the way.
would have had to
right?
read through that this was this guy's grandma's recipe and he perfected it and tweaked it. I mean, you just got to go through all of that story
Right.
to get to the meat.
Yeah.
Okay. And you might have to go through 5 of them before you get to something that works. So, but what ChatGPT will do, it'll go out and it'll construct. If you say, give me the most common recipe and ask me any questions that will help you give me a more direct answer. And it constructs it not in a way that I got to go through, the top 10 tested recipes.
I like
get.
soft, moist chocolate chip cookies with extra chocolate chips.
Yeah. And you learn how
Yeah.
to ask it better questions.
Yeah.
Where before you kind of generalize some of your Google search to make sure you don't exclude
Right.
things. Here you can get really specific and really hone it in and do it 2 or 3 times till you get what you want. So, hey, it's a great tool to give you an opportunity to not spend time going into rabbit holes, but actually getting.
I love it. That's a great example. So the show title today is VCIO, VCISO.
Oh yeah.
That's easy for you to say.
Yeah. It's a lot of.
It is.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I did pretty well.
I thought you did good.
It
No, I
didn't
mean,
tongue
yeah.
twist me at all.
Yeah, it would not have been easy for me to say.
We know that, Chad.
Yeah.
So you talked about your career and
Yep.
music. You've spent some time, I think, in the healthcare industry as well, right?
Yep.
So what transitioned you into that virtual CISO, CIO
Sure.
world? When was that transition and how did you get
It was
there?
about 5 years ago. And I worked in the corporate world for a long time. Worked a lot of years for one particular company, and then had a stint in software, software development startup, and in that went through a lot of growth, mergers, and system implementation, and scaling infrastructure, and going from on-premise to cloud, as we approached 2020, we were needing to divest a good chunk of the company, and that prompted me to scale down some of my teams and really optimize them. And I had some great direct report leaders, and it was clear to me I was either going to my position in some conversations was clear. Sorry about that, hitting that. My position wasn't going to be needed at this smaller size. Okay.
Gotcha.
So, and these folks were ready. So it's like, am I going to adjust these and step back into one of those roles, or I'm going to find something different? And that's really what happened. So in 2020, I was making an exit. I knew that in January. And then we got to March, and everything was put on pause.
Everything exited.
We had to move about 2,000 people, 1,800 to 2,000 people home, equip them, get them working, all of that. So all of that was on pause. And later that year, I sort of finished the exit, and in that I had a colleague that I started having a conversation with about what was next for me, and he was also exiting a company that he built, really about the economics of what was happening with the pandemic. And so we were in a similar place. And one of the things that resonated with us was, as a large corporation, there's some positions and expertise and specialty that you can afford and you ought to be paying for. In smaller companies, in technology, there's often someone that is wearing several hats. Yep. And in today's world, they need some specialty, and otherwise it becomes a black box. And it's just kind of, I gotta hire people and it becomes solving problems that come up, or making transactions that fix those things. That's the extent of the technology strategy.
It's the proverbial thumb in the dike.
Yeah. And so I began to say, I think there's an opportunity here. Okay, I wasn't really ready to, sort of re-enter the corporate world as in a CIO role, or I was an administrative officer, so I had a few other disciplines, and I was like, I think there's an opportunity here. So we began to network, and had an opportunity that came up. It was a healthcare practice that was merging, private healthcare practice merging some groups together. So I had a lot of history with that and understanding people, technology, all of that needed to happen. So guided them through that, and then made an exit. And in that time, continued to do this kind of work for others. So that's how I made the transition. But it really was seeing that, hey, I think there's a real opportunity here
For sure.
to bring some specialty at the size and shape particular companies need as they're growing, as they starting to feel the tension of the CFO having to play a CIO role, the
Yeah, yeah.
COO having to play a CIO role, vendor management and dealing with and system selection and all of those things that go
Yeah.
into how do you execute on your technology strategy, if you have one at all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Transitioning into that role, I know you've got a lot of experience in technology. Are you going into a company, are you having to prove yourself in what you know from a technology standpoint or more from a leadership standpoint? Or is it a good mix?
All of the above.
It's a heavy mix.
Heavy
Yeah.
mix.
It's a heavy mix of those
Okay.
two.
Because a lot of times in a CIO role, you're relying upon your team to know the technology, right? And you're helping to make decisions.
Yeah.
So are they
It's
asking you how
almost-
much you know on technology? Are they trying to figure that out? That you're staying up to date with most recent technology trends?
Yeah. It's silly to think that someone is going to stay up to date on
On
specialty.
every, yeah, there you go.
Up to date on the trends is probably that's something that you need to know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, they're usually companies they're dealing with some sort of tension, crisis. I mean, I call it being in tension because you think you might ask me, okay, what's your target customer? What does that look like? Well, it looks like an organization who begins to understand we need something that we don't have. And we're not of a shape, size, or demand to need a whole one of those people. You know, how can we get a portion but experience? Now, in the typical consulting world, often you can go hire people that can help you build a plan and tell you what you need to do, but then someone's got to execute it. So what we love to do is we call it embedded ownership. So we're going to help you build your plan, and then we're going to lead it. Okay, and you don't have to add a whole nother traditional W-2 with
With all the benefits package.
with all the benefits and all of that. Yet I'm committing to own the thing as if I was
Yeah.
sitting there at the table with you, doing both of those things. There's back to your question of lead the vendor mix, the teams, all of those, as well as help you build a strategy based on what the trends are and what's going on out in the marketplace.
And you're bringing a team to the table, it sounds like. Work Harderly, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that a little bit.
So Work Hardly we're a small consultancy, I guess. We're about half a dozen individuals that do what I do. We do business development, operations, technology, and brand and marketing. Those are kind of the lanes that we're in. So in companies that have some tension in one of those areas, and each of us we're out there pursuing those. So there is some referrals that we might bring. We're in there, and you have a technology issue, and you find out, they really have an operational issue or vacancy, or vice versa. So we've been in several of those. We've got some partners who are fractional CFOs, and they very often are working with companies that have a need, and they bring us in for a consult and a possible engagement. Our engagements, you might say they're often as short as 6 months, and maybe 18 months is kind of the more logical target. I've had several that have gone on for 2-3 years.
Aligning IT strategies with business goals sounds like your specialty.
That's
That's
what
what he
gets me
does.
fired up.
Yeah.
It's what gets me fired up.
I can attest to it. Wayne and I've got to work on some projects together. So it's what he does.
It's today, I mean, two things. You can't make a business decision today that doesn't affect or be about technology. It's just so hard.
Yeah,
Back to
it
this
is.
workflow issue, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is in the nervous system of everything we do in moving our business forward, right? But also, you need to be treating every technology decision like it's a business decision. And so asking those questions or requiring the folks that are bringing that recommendation to you, okay, how does this hit one of our business goals?
Right.
How does it fuel it? How does it increase revenue, reduce expense, mitigate risk? How does it do that?
Yeah.
And make it presented that way, so when you start asking questions, was that effective? Was that the right thing to do? That you can harken back to how it was justified, how as an effort, when you spent the money, and is it doing that? So that business goal alignment, and we're all like, we got the 3 to 5 things that we're trying to do this year. The technology strategy needs to be pointed to each of those and hooked to them.
And how's technology going to drive it?
And how is technology going to help you
Yep.
succeed at those?
Yep.
Yeah.
Are we seeing IT budgets increase in 2025, or is it still bottom of the barrel?
This is a great question.
Yeah.
I think it's very mixed.
Yeah.
Okay. I think obviously AI is at the top of all of the headlines. And it ought to be, okay? Because it's the thing to talk about, but it is not the meat and potatoes of what's driving folks. Folks, if you look at some of the surveys, and this is a few months old, there's high percentage of leaders that are using it for personal use, but can't yet articulate a project, a company project that they have that they're willing to spend money on. You get individual contributors that are using it, maybe supporting themselves in the doing their work.
Are you saying like spend money on creating their own private cloud instance of AI, or you're?
Oh, it might be. I mean, the players are, it's Copilot is one of the ones, or it's Gemini, or it's some other, iteration of that. Like someone, a company saying, we have a problem, we need to solve it, and we see how we can leverage AI, and we're going to invest money into it. I think there's some large companies that have what I would call R&D projects.
Yeah.
Because they've got some margin to go chase that down, but it's very forward thinking. It's not a this year thing.
It's down the
not a
road.
this year thing. We're going to see how we leverage that. Now, you start looking at products, UCaaS products.
Yeah.
You start looking at, what are some of the others? Searching and archiving products. There's, and obviously the way it's impacted all of our video chat.
Yeah.
To the extent that's AI or natural language processing or, summarizing, our notes for a meeting.
It's nice to have.
That is really nice to have if people pay attention to it.
Yes.
Again, there's a two-edged sword.
Yeah, you still got to read it, pay attention to it.
So I didn't really answer your question. Are IT budgets increasing or not? I think people continue to modernize. They continue to try to play the mix between cloud computing, what I would say more very generic computing in the cloud versus buying platform, single pane of glass, power, compute, storage, that kind of thing. I think there's all of that going on as the lifecycle management of our systems continue on. Now, what we do see is many key business systems, critical systems that are running our business are happening in a cloud SaaS-based environment. And we still, so where's the money going to be? It really is in moving and connecting. So to the extent that AI will help, it's in continuing to moving and connecting data within those systems and our ability to make sense of the data as information. So there's where people are really focused on how do we connect our systems better? How do we understand the information from these disparate systems and make good business decisions, bringing it in. So the last comment is, well, AI is going to make a difference, but it's almost always a part of some other system. It's an AI addition or component.
Is AI a new budget, or is it a existing IT tech budget? right? Is AI going to be the new marketing, the new IT, the new this and that? Are they going to create their own budget for AI?
It's big companies that I think are doing that.
Yeah, because they're building out their own private hosted AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
And they're utilizing one of those AI ChatGPT models on their own system.
So RAG,
Yeah.
retrieval augmentation generation. So it's the layer of the private information that sits on top of.
So it doesn't go out. So the information doesn't
or
go
it
out.
uses that and then it gets augmented.
Yeah.
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 Either one of those. Either it's
Huge companies probably like HCA and others are doing that today, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think they are doing. I think they are doing that.
Vanderbilt just released theirs a few months ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's their private cloud. It's their private AI, large language model. So it's larger companies, but it's very much in R&D. Is this really from an effective standpoint? I think, as I hear, it's figuring out how will this really change the way we do business or we can do business.
Yeah. I read a stat yesterday that only, I think it was 2% of the data center space in America is left. I don't know if that's true, but the private cloud, right? Building out AI models. What has that done?
That sounds like a data center commercial that somebody's wanting to open a data center and sell you a bunch of space.
I know, but to that point, I think the AI transformation that's happening right now, what's that doing? It's causing the need for more data center space.
It is,
Right?
and I think it is shifting a lot of the money and effort to building to building that compute for actually AI processing. I think it is. So I may have to snoop that out.
Yeah.
Is it starving out the natural growth that we need in data centers?
Yeah.
With the technology trends and the AI and everything, how much are you seeing vendor and or software platform consolidation, where you can, you mentioned UCaaS. To be able to take this one vendor, this UCaaS platform maybe, to be able to now be your phone, your meeting, your all of the above. Is that an initiative to help maybe reduce cost and at the same time increase some of that productivity spend? Is that something you're seeing as well?
I think when the opportunity is, if a company has a platform or a handful of platforms that are reaching their end of life.
Yep.
Or let's say one of them's being sunset, or they're outgrowing it, feature function wise, they're outgrowing it. When they look, there's high value in evaluating bringing those features together.
I know it's something that you and I have seen together. Whenever you look at some of those platforms, to be able to, some of those are offering AI, they're offering your meetings, they're offering all these things that tie some of that stuff together. I know I've worked on some projects recently that have, in the big scheme of things, have helped reduce some of that spend. It looks expensive, on the surface, but when you start digging and you're able to eliminate this, and this from your stack.
Yes, from your stack.
Yeah.
A vendor relationship,
Yeah.
a cost, a potential barrier in consolidating data, bringing it together. There is a cost to all that. All of that may be fine. But it is a big hurdle.
Yeah.
I'm not sure most companies think about voice and AI together.
I don't either.
Right?
I
mean, maybe they're getting there on the larger enterprise space, right?
Yeah. I think you're right. I think something that we see pretty regularly is integrations that people don't think are possible or they don't even know that they're possible, right? Like it could be your CRM talking to, some back end software, then talking to your voice platform, which, oh, by the way, has AI built in that can now take care of this. unless you can preach that gospel
Yeah.
and get it out there, and I don't know that a lot of the providers are doing the best job in doing that, right?
In making the case for
That consolidation.
that consolidation.
Right? Like I don't know that there's a 15-second commercial that can tell all that.
I've seen a lot of new players jump on the scene, which I think is great for growth and innovation. Like the companies that we know of by name that have been around forever, maybe they're less likely to build that integration.
Yeah.
Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it
fix
kind of
it.
model. But we're starting to see a lot more newer, innovative SaaS software type companies that just so happen to have a voice part of their business, right? Because it's easy to go get voice licensing.
Yeah.
They're building from the ground up that integration that is not there that people are looking for.
Yeah.
Right. So they're solving a problem in the marketplace. Now the big boys are eventually going to see that.
They're like, oh crap, we need to do this too.
Yeah.
And it's good for competition.
It's really good for competition.
It is. And you think about, well, what I'll say is when you get back to business goals and technology, business strategy, technology strategy, a discipline that is often not present is a good vendor selection process. That really does analyze what is important to the company. Because it's so easy to sit in a demo and go, well, that's the coolest thing.
Business goals checklist, right?
Wouldn't that make?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that really be cool?
And then you go back and you're like, but how do we do it?
But in reality, it's 5 years before you can walk through the maturity to actually leverage whatever that cool feature was. So to be able to say, what's important to us? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to solve? How does it align with the business strategy? And get the business leaders to actually walk through that. I mean, you can go and see a demo to sort of begin the creative juices flowing about what you might like to do, but then don't make a decision based on the 5 demos. Go back and create something that says, here's what we want. Here's what we need. Here's what's important to us. Here's what the effect could be on it. Now let's go back to each of those products and say, which one of these meets it?
Yeah.
That process is so important for businesses to be able to, it's a discipline. You really need to go to be able to say, well, as cool as that is, how does it work with
what we got?
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate to say it, but so many times this is what makes Microsoft and the Microsoft users or the G Suite users or whatever makes those platforms work for so many people.
Yeah.
Because it hits the sweet spot.
Yeah.
It hits the sweet spot of those things. And that's why the Slacks of the world are so fantastic, because they really break it open, and then, ultimately, people will leverage Teams and I mean, I don't want to use those examples as that Teams is better than Slack, but it's like there is a cost to having separate systems.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Google hasn't bought Slack, by the way.
You would think somebody would.
You would.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they're out there on their own still, but maybe
I use Google all the time. I mean, I use that G Suite, G Drive calendar all the time, and I think I've used Google Chat twice.
Yeah.
It's Slack. It's either Slack or Teams.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I've been on a mission to just use iMessage.
Oh my God.
Chad's like, if I can do everything iPhone, iBase,
if I could just text you.
let's go that route.
Yeah.
Apple's not there, right, for
They make-
mid-market
They
enterprise
make fun of me
business.
for just wanting to just like, can
Really?
I just text you? Like,
Yeah.
why do I have to send it in Teams? Can I not just
Yeah, no.
send you a
It's
text?
what you get used to.
Yeah.
I will say customers, if they're on Teams, right, I think they like the Teams messaging.
I've seen both.
Yeah.
Like if you get text people, they will communicate with you through text happily.
But Teams is becoming that. You look at open rates, right, and response rates. Teams is way high.
Probably
They're way
because
up
that
there.
sound annoys the shit out of them.
You're not going to have anything unread usually
'cause
on
they're
Teams.
like, oh.
Usually, yeah.
Except for Chad. Chad might have a few unread throughout the day.
No, that's the thing is I don't get anxiety about a lot of things, but notifications on my phone,
Yeah.
I cannot stand to have an unread notification, whether that's email, Teams, a text, like
Yeah.
it will drive me crazy right now because I know I have a bunch of notifications. As soon as we get done recording this, they've got to be like
Cleaned up.
cleaned. Yeah.
Wayne, back to your point on vendor selection, we did a 1,500 seat project for a customer, 1,500 phone seats. And it was imperative that we did a vendor selection process on
Yeah.
meeting the business goals, the check boxes, right? Because to your point, without the check boxes, the newest, shiniest, greatest looking thing might
of
have won
time.
over,
Yeah.
but it didn't meet, didn't have the highest grade
Yeah.
of meeting all their business goals. So I think that's imperative for the mid-market enterprise customers to go through that checklist
For sure.
for vendor selections, for sure.
Yeah.
Digital transformation.
Yeah.
Is that term over? Are we out of that stage? That's like a COVID thing, right? Are we past that, or are we still
not
in?
past that. There are still some industries that still have pretty limited digital use,
Yeah.
Okay.
and maybe that's okay.
It's probably in very industry specific.
It's probably pretty industry specific. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still some. There's still some industries where your second step is a phone call because
Yeah.
you can't find much more on the web. You can't. You can't do commerce with them very much on the web.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that first level of digital transformation. But is that just marketing? And yeah, I'm trying to think. Okay, what are other ways that there's going to be digital transformation?
What you mentioned industries, there's some out there. What would you say would be one or two industries that are still in the heightened phase of their digital transformation?
Oh, heightened phase.
Yeah, or
haven't started yet.
Let's say they're just getting started.
Construction,
Yeah.
Construction would be one.
residential, all
yeah.
of that sort of residential kind of construction and
Yeah.
heavy entrepreneurial kind of small business
Yeah.
work.
Would
Yeah.
we say trucking businesses?
I don't know. I think trucking is probably just, oh Lord. Trucking is probably very size and into their specific
I think
type of trucking
yeah.
dependent, because you're going to have large over the road trucking companies that have digitized everything, right? Their logbooks, all their stuff is digital, like their
Fleet management.
fleet management, all their stuff. But you're going to also find a smaller local company probably doesn't know that they have the money to do that.
Yeah.
They're probably getting bought up right now if
Right.
they're
They,
not there.
they
yet,
could
right?
be, or again, they don't necessarily, they look at those things and maybe think they're too expensive and they don't have the budget for that. And maybe they don't know,
Yeah.
hey, this could reduce this cost by adding this technology. I think so, but I think that scenario plays for a lot of that mid to small business.
Yeah.
Right, is that there are a lot of ways to maybe help their overall budget by implementing technology. They just don't know how. Right? Maybe they're too small for an IT team. Maybe they've been in this growth mode for so long, and they've bought this, and this, and they just don't know how to use it. That's what I see on talking to some of our clients, and we work with people from 3-employee coffee shop to the Fortune 50 of the world. So you see a little bit of everything, and I think Wayne's right. The construction type, the more residential, whatever that company may be, right? They're relying more on consumer or residential business. Some of those trucking companies, for sure. I think those are the ones that are maybe I don't want to say the last to adopt, but maybe it's because they don't know what they don't
They're
know.
using their iMessage, group
Yeah.
text.
It's amazing.
Have you ever used it? I can do so much through iMessage.
I have.
I can send gifts. I can send photos. I
Wow.
can share my location. I can send money through
And
iMessage.
that's the scope of your work.
Yeah. I can send money through my iMessage. I can FaceTime. Yeah. I'm not a good commercial for what we do.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about cloud strategy for a minute. So we saw the shift, Wayne, right, from on-prem servers to now we're going full cloud infrastructure. Wait a minute, this is a lot more expensive than we thought it was going to be. Hybrid cloud, a little bit more, right? Is that kind of where we're sitting today? Still hybrid cloud, or customers still 100% in the cloud?
Oh, I think it's more hybrid. Let me back into it and say, to have significant on-premise infrastructure today, that is significant compute and storage, is more and more a specialty use case.
Yeah.
More and more a specialty use case. So then the question is, so if I don't have that need, where am I going to buy my power, cooling, square footage,
Yeah.
and how am I going to do that? So
Back to the data center talk.
back to the data center. Yeah, it's like, do I need to be, as a company, in the data center business? Okay. Or am I going to outsource some version of that? And so again, what is cloud or hybrid cloud is I mean, it's a bit of a continuum.
Yeah.
What is the single pane of glass in Azure, AWS, pick your service of choice. It has a lot of flexibility, tremendous amount of flexibility to implement quickly, grow,
Yeah.
but it has some restrictions, some guardrails.
Yeah. Turn up a desktop here in 30 minutes, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, it is that continuum. So I would answer it that way. It's like, it isn't just on-prem or in the cloud. It's becoming more and more of a very narrow use case for really specific reasons to meet the needs to have something on premise. And you're going to make a choice and dig deep into hardware, software. You got to have that specialty, a whole bench of people that you need to really have the specialty at your beck and call to be able to keep that running. So there's a total cost of ownership of people and technology that you have to commit to. So that's why the use case is getting narrower and narrower.
Yeah. Have we seen a change in that in the last few years at all?
I think you're right. There was a big swing up
To get it all out.
And without an understanding of, what is that? What is that total cost going to be? And not having years and years of discipline about managing and monitoring cost, okay, and expense. For some, it got out of hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a lot, it didn't.
Going the OpEx model, like the telecom world where you don't look at a telecom bill for years and years and years and it just keeps creeping up.
That is like very common we have run in this rash of clients that haven't really, especially multi-site, that haven't looked at their ISP bill in forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, let's look at that and see what your spend is. POTS lines.
Yes.
Some of what people are spending on POTS
It's
lines
amazing.
right now. I mean,
But it doesn't have a whole lot of zeros on it, so it's like
it goes unnoticed.
it goes unnoticed. The OpEx goes unnoticed for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've seen it. That is like the specific use case right now is POTS lines. The carriers decommissioning them.
Yep.
The carriers aren't going to service them.
That's what forced me in an engagement a couple of years ago.
Yep.
The carrier was not supporting them anymore. And I was in there and had been in this engagement for about 6 months. And no one wanted to touch it.
Yep.
because they didn't know what they would break.
Yep.
And so we had to roll our sleeves up and really understand and take some risk
Yes.
about, oh gosh, it was fax lines,
Elevators.
faxes that weren't there anymore, forwarded to something else
That's so true. Nobody wants to touch it in
nobody
the
wants to touch it.
organization.
because it's going to break some, or maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We have, there's been a couple examples, but there was one of our clients that's got a few sites that it was literally like fax line and fire alarm, right? Like that's all they were. They saved, this is not a big customer, right? Like big as in, they saved thousands of dollars every month
Wow.
to just say, hey, let's think outside the box. You guys tell us what we need to do with our POTS lines. And we said, this is all you got to do.
Yeah.
And it's thousands every month.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's all we had to do. We should have done that years ago.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, to your point, decommissioning and
yes.
the telephone companies don't have to come out and fix it in
Yeah.
a timely manner.
That's right.
There's no SLA around
Yeah.
it anymore.
You
It's
call,
going to be 3-4 days.
yeah, you call the big guy right now and tell him your fax line or your fire alarm that's an old POTS line is down. They're like, yeah, can we sell you some fiber internet?
Yeah.
Like they don't care anything about that POTS line.
2027 right now is the date where the copper network's going away, but they'll probably delay it again.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's 2027 right
So
now.
there's our commercial to anybody that wants to save money on POTS lines.
Yeah, we'll take you internet and wireless and get rid
Yeah.
of the copper lines.
There we go.
For sure.
Holler at your boy.
Yeah.
What, Wayne, what are we seeing in 2025 for tech trends? Anything new besides AI? We know AI is a huge tech trend.
AI. Yeah.
I watched that movie where Megan Fox was a robot. Just saying. I don't know if that's like 2026.
Is that
You're
our
going to
tech
have to put the
trends?
movie title in the show notes, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like it was I think it was a Netflix movie, and she's
I hadn't
like
seen
a
that
robot.
one.
I was never much on this robot.
Is this like a spring of the Terminator, or what is this?
It was kind of like she was a hot Terminator.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was like all anti-robot until I watched that movie, and then I'm like, okay, maybe AI is not so bad. Yeah, if you haven't seen it, whatever that movie is,
On Netflix.
Megan
okay.
Fox is a hot robot.
Okay.
Tech trends.
Plug Netflix.
Yeah, tech trends.
Tech trends.
Yeah,
I think
Is it subservience?
that's it. Look at Will coming in there.
What is it?
Subservience.
Subservience. Okay.
Yeah, she's a very attractive robot.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go.
It's not the best movie.
Oh, okay. Well then,
I mean, it's
maybe
really,
I'm going to get the AI summary of it.
yeah, it's not the best movie, but Megan Fox is a robot.
Wow.
So tech trends.
I think it's not AI, but it is AI powered in our common SaaS platforms. I think AI capabilities is really the big thing that will happen.
So AI in 2025 is at the top. Integrations with SaaS platforms. How do we get it to work with
I'm saying
this?
AI features in the SaaS platforms.
There
we're
you
using.
go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's the AI features in the SaaS platforms we're already using is
Yeah.
really going to be a significant tech trends in people understanding and learning how to use it.
There you go.
Okay. We just our CRM just actually just released an AI
AI
summary in the account area, right? To give you a brief summary on what happened the latest with this customer, what email, what features, what did the customer ask for last, kind of thing. So we're seeing it. For
Yeah,
sure.
like orders placed, trend. It's like almost like a Copilot recap.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Copilot with Microsoft 365 as well, right? That being built in.
Exactly.
And,
That's
and
a built.
Outlook.
That's a built-in.
Yep.
And it's real. It hasn't gotten the traction that they want it yet, and I think that's some because business leaders don't really understand now. What can I use it for? Because on the surface, it feels like just another brand of ChatGPT, but its ability, its marketed ability to dig into all of your OneDrive and really understand what what you've got and sort of gather up all the places that something that you've asked for and summarize that information. It's our accounting leaders and operation leaders and division leaders kind of, it's the way of thinking. Back to the back to the immigrant versus the native. It's the way of thinking that has to change to imagine those. So that's kind of the AI.
Okay. Let's paint a picture there, Wayne. I was just thinking of something. In 2050, is the CIO leader going to need to know how to use AI better or be a better speaker and communicator?
The latter.
Preach, brother.
It's the latter.
It's still the human interaction.
It's the
In
latter.
2050, it still will be?
Yeah, it's got to be. If not, we're in trouble as a human race.
It's going to be about how to listen, how to be patient with their colleagues while they work through their version of making sense of where the business is going, and then being able to now go and spin and lead a part of the team to support that.
Yeah.
And deliver time, on budget, being willing to raise your hand to escalate issues. It is all of that leadership. Yeah, it's got the underlayer of understanding the technology component of it.
Yeah.
When you're Fortinet, Anycast didn't work this week, Monday, half a day. Lots of people couldn't get to the internet. If that and it's like, oh, we're on the wrong. Or do we need to get off Fortinet? Should we go back to? No. It's like understanding what happened, communicating that to the leaders, being committed to go back and say, now what's the root cause? How can we prevent the impact of this next time? And figuring out what your lessons learned are. So it's in 2050, it's still going to be relationships. It's still going to be making commitments, having a culture that can be successful and learn from mistakes.
I love that that's Wayne's answer, by the way.
Yeah.
Because
it was kind of a trick question.
Yeah, but the computer didn't change that. The cell phone did. I mean, to tie a bow on this thing from the very beginning of the conversation, the human interaction on top of all these technologies is still remain the constant.
Yeah. The folks that still focus on relationships, networking, communication will still win out in the future.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes, and I don't have a lot of forward-thinking insight into what it ought to be, but right now the CIO average tenure is 30 months.
Really?
Yeah. Now, why? There's probably a lot of theories about why, but it's like 30 months. It seems really disruptive.
For sure.
Okay. It's most likely, I don't know why. There's probably a way to dig into that data, and maybe that's what, prompted me after this conversation how to go figure out. But it's extremely disruptive to have that cycle, if indeed it's relationships and leadership.
Yep.
Now, if it's just knowing what widgets to buy and how to be successful implementing them, you made the right purchase, or you prevented the breach, or you've got a good security posture, okay. But I think it's how you accomplish those things is really by being effective.
Is it the highest pressure C-level job in an organization?
It probably is, and so I think that back to your second, what I think the trends are. I think finally we're going to get the core security controls indeed nailed.
Yeah.
But it is the social penetrations that are happening is what's really killing organizations. I mean, it's disrupting organizations in the cyberspace.
So CIOs driving innovation and culture still going to be top of mind, top of the list.
Yeah.
Moving forward in 2025 and beyond.
Probably more so.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the 30-month, trend is maybe some of those in the past have been too focused on the technology and not like, I can vouch for I know what kind of person Wayne is. Like Wayne and I've got to know each other over the past couple years, and Wayne's not just a technology guy. Like if you didn't know what Wayne did for a living, you would think he's a good dude to go eat a cheeseburger with, right?
Yeah.
And that's probably why he's successful at what he does and can make that last, is he can connect with the people plus do the technology side.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be more important as we go further.
Yeah. If you can't connect with your team and build the right culture, your lifespan maybe is less than 30 months.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Or folks are going to leave you.
Right.
Right.
So I think it's keeping on that trend, or on that topic. I know a couple of weeks ago, you guys had a conversation with a younger female CIO.
Yeah.
Or a
Yep.
VP of IT. And
Thank you for watching that, by the way.
It was very interesting. It was very cool. So I think there is going to be some younger folks that are kind of in those leadership position. Maybe it won't be the CIO. I mean, I know how hard I had to work and the kind of advocacy I had to have at what ultimately was the C-suite of an organization to be able to get in there. I had lots of years of frustration because who I reported to would come back out of those conversations, and I'd have that, it didn't get presented right. There wasn't the right interaction. It was way more critical than just, that budget decision,
Right.
that capital expenditure didn't get presented well. Okay. And it needed that person at the table. It also needed me at the table, or someone like me at the table, to hear the whys and the whats of what they were talking about doing. So I hope that organizations continue to figure out how to have a technology executive there. And again, the difference between a tactical person, and this is what I think is the key issue, the difference between a tactical person that wakes up every day thinking about how to keep it running, fix it when it breaks, and keep the users of the technology that supports the business satisfied. That person is critical, okay? But that mindset, it's difficult to change hats and then go sit with the leaders who are contemplating ways to screw all that up.
Yeah.
Now, no disrespect, but they're thinking about going forward and expanding and changing and all of that. And this person is thinking about how to not break it.
Yeah.
Their best answer to anybody that walks in their door is often no.
Yeah. It's the easiest answer.
In their mind, okay? Yet we in technology have to figure out how to get to yes. I mean, my reaction to all that they're saying might have started out by going, well, that's just never going to work.
Yeah.
Except I got to be patient and listen to them. So I think the trend of having some innovative thinkers, having some young minds in there. I mean, I'm 63. I've been in this for a long time. I remember when our PCs didn't talk to each other. We had Irwin drives, and now the entire thing, it's just a portal to the rest of,
That's right.
Lots of information that doesn't exist here. So that people that are thinking differently and can bring ideas, that can bring information, I think that's what we need in 2050. And it may not be a CIO, but it will be a person who understands how to support the company in their goals.
You hit the nail on the head, and
I think culture, it'd be fun to talk just for a minute about culture.
Culture is huge for me as a small business, right?
Yeah.
And I think small businesses can thrive tremendously on a great culture environment.
Yep.
Is that harder to do for larger corporations because other things are are coming down on that leader on what they can do from a culture standpoint? And how does that,
I think it's harder to make it feel real in a
Yeah.
in a large company.
and does IT feel like they maybe can't go out of the box as much from a culture building standpoint? And does work from home factor into that a lot too, right?
Does. So I'll give you my brief thoughts about culture. And I think it's super important with IT. Super important. It's difficult. It's difficult for a division, a group, or whatever to sort of do the work and establish their own culture per se, especially if the organization has something or doesn't. Okay, so culture is it's such an ambiguous thing, you know. I mean, you hear people talking about, well, I work at a company with a bad culture, and then others, oh, I work at a company with a good culture, and say, oh, yeah, what is that? And it's like, it's sort of they don't have the words.
Yeah.
So it's a feeling, it's a vibe. But culture is very simply how we work together.
Yeah.
Culture is how we work together. And if you really were going to define the framework of it, it is, well, it's almost always there are shared values. So what we care about has some commonality.
Yeah.
Those shared values are executed in behaviors. So when a team begins to actually articulate or put in front of them or have some discussion and agree upon behaviors that support their shared values,
Yeah.
ultimately that's when you can say, oh yeah, we have a good culture, and here's why. You know, we trust each other. We help when we ask. Whatever is going to be it, we deliver on our commitments, or we renegotiate when we're not going to meet our deadline, or, you know, whatever is the thing. It's super important for IT, because IT is almost always measured on, is it up? Has it been up? Did it get fixed quickly? Did we deliver on time? Did we deliver on budget? And was it fit for purpose? Those are the things that, you know, are the objective or subjective somewhat measures of IT success. But as a team, when you hear a team in IT saying, I like working with these people, and if you were to get and process there, they'd have some behaviors.
Yeah.
And man, it is successful when you can get those distilled out and put in front of people, whether it's on their badge or whether it's on their desk or whatever, it's in front of them. It says, this is what it means to be part of this team, because we all commit to doing these things. That's rocket fuel
Yeah.
for a team.
In IT, does teams drive the culture more, or does leaders drive the culture more?
Well, all right. So leadership, okay? Leadership's not a title. Leadership is anybody can be a leader. For example, we all have a version of the future. We all can say, I imagine a future that looks like this. It's going to be this way. And you'd say, I think the future's going to look like this. And Chad says, I think the future's going to look like this. And he does it in such a compelling way that I go, I like that.
I like his future.
I like his future. And I decide to make it my version of the future. Now he's become a leader. So it's not a title.
Yeah.
It is, leadership is declaring something that people will follow. Now you need to have some of that if your title has you as a leader,
Right.
right? But that is the thing. It has to have good leadership. And it's social leadership as well as it is formal leadership. I think another thing that is super, super important is believing that escalation is not failure. IT people want to get it done.
Yeah.
And they don't want to talk about it until they know it's right, fixed, or done. And they will, we will hunker down, and we will be quiet, and we will let that deadline pass because we're not quite there yet. We don't, you know, and we won't rise up and say, I need some help.
Yeah.
Okay. So escalation of where I am when I need something more is super important. Yeah. And I call it RAD.
Yep.
Resources, authority, direction. If you get an assignment, I've made some assumption that you have all the resources, authority, and a direction that you need. Okay. And you dig into it, you get a little ways into it, and you realize, I'm missing something here. When you come to me and say, I need help, you're not asking me to do it. You're just asking me, please make some adjustments to my resources, authority, or direction.
Yeah. I love
Okay.
that. Yeah.
And then you go and you be successful. Escalation's not failure. It's an opportunity to get those things realigned. And if you've got a culture that is free for people to escalate and say, man, I need some help here, and it doesn't feel like failure, another rocket fuel.
Yeah. Love it. That's awesome. Well, hey, Wayne, every episode we end the podcast with a rapid fire segment.
All right, it's going to make me nervous.
Rapid-ish fire.
Rapid-ish fire. So we'll ask you a few questions.
Okay.
Just answer them honestly, quickly. Yeah, this is fun. Let's do
that's
it.
my favorite part. iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Did you hear that, Matt?
No, what?
Windows or Mac?
Yes.
To both.
Personally, I've worked my entire life in Windows. I have a Mac that I use every single day as part of my business.
I love it. I'm right there with you. I think you need to know both too in
You need to know
technology.
both.
Right?
These days, yeah.
Yeah, you need to know both. Chad's a Mac guy only.
Yeah, I don't want the other one.
You can't run a business
Yeah.
with more than 50 people
Yeah.
really, really successfully
There you go.
on a Mac.
Yeah.
On a whole bunch of Macs. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Unless you're some sort of creative studio or something like
Right.
that.
There you go, yeah.
And the software drives that.
Yeah. Beach or mountains?
I love the mountains. I love being up high among places that people aren't at very often.
With that, your dream vacation? Go anywhere. Money's no object.
It is probably in Europe and maybe especially in the Scandinavian area I'd love to get to. It's places I haven't been yet.
Yeah.
Old places that I haven't been yet. And it probably has mountains and beaches.
Okay.
You're picking your last meal, let's say. What are you having?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I love everything.
What's your favorite dish?
I love everything. I mean, there's just not much that I don't like. Wow.
You having steak, seafood, pasta?
It is probably seafood.
Okay.
It probably is seafood. There's something about well done, well prepared, light seafood with a great sauce that is just,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's really good. Yeah.
Have
Even
you,
though
have
I
you
don't
been to the
hesitate
Optimist?
No, not yet.
He needs to go to the
I need
Optimist.
to
Yeah.
go.
It's good.
Yeah.
Catch here in
And Catch in
Hendersonville.
Hendersonville.
Catch in
really good, too.
Hendersonville's really good.
Where's the catch?
Highly recommend.
Indian Lake.
Indian Lake. Yeah.
It's the best restaurant in Sumner County, I
Yeah.
think.
Like
Is it?
I don't think there's a close second.
Oh,
Yeah. For sure.
Okay.
It's really good. Going on a road trip,
yeah,
going to the gas station,
yeah.
wherever that gas station chain may be, and you're coming out with your snacks.
Oh, yeah.
What's our snacks?
Our snacks are Reese's of some version.
Yep.
They could be cups. They could be the take a break. They could be any of those. Take 5 or whatever they are. And it is either Pringles or might be a bag of more, salt and vinegar kind of chips. But it's chips and sweet salty.
What's our drink?
It's probably water.
Okay.
Okay.
It's probably
That's
water.
fair.
I can barely handle a small Dr. Pepper can these days. I just don't drink a lot
Yeah.
unless it's got peanuts in it.
Oh, okay. So the old school
Old school, yeah.
peanut in the RC. Or
Peanut
something?
in the RC, yeah.
Yeah.
Unlimited budget on a vehicle. What are you getting? Sports car, truck? What are you having?
Oh gosh, it's probably not a truck. Trucks are okay. Trucks are fun, but no, it's a sports car.
What's the top on the list, sports car wise?
Man, I don't know. I mean, I've never dreamed about like big.
Ferrari, Lambo,
Yeah,
Porsche,
I mean, I've driven a couple of those.
Bugatti.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a Bugatti. It's like, but where am I going to drive it? The thing is I
That's
have this
right.
racehorse I'm driving down the street. What, you know,
That's
I
true.
think,
And you're a motorcycle guy too, right?
yeah. Short story, I've committed to sell my motorcycle to my wife because my grandchildren
Okay,
are growing.
I get it.
Yeah. They need a grandfather later.
They need a grandfather, yeah.
Yeah. Wayne is a sports fan, so I want to know and this is all encompassing, your Mount Rushmore of sports people. It could be a athlete, it could be a basketball player, a baseball player, a race car driver. You're 4 people that you're like, that's my 4.
Yeah, I've always been so. I think Jordan, and this isn't just admirable. This is like the journey of them getting to that greatness. I think it's Jordan and it's Tiger Woods. And I think his relationship with his dad and sort of building that determination and is probably there. I love NASCAR, and I'm trying to figure out between. I always loved Jeff Gordon.
Yeah.
I liked him. And I like Jimmy Johnson because he was Jeff. You know, he was, kind of the second version of that.
Breaking out the NASCAR, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I knew that. See?
and currently, I'm loving hockey, and I love F1.
Who you got in hockey?
Right now, I love the Predators, but I love watching hockey. I love, I'm learning the game. I mean, I'm less than 10 years in, so the game's just beginning to slow down for me.
Yeah.
And
We had a guy just break the goal scoring record, right?
oh yeah, Ovechkin
Ovechkin, yeah.
just broke
You know that?
Gretzky's
Yeah.
all time,
Did it in what, 18 years or something like that?
and he's 39.
Yeah.
He's 39. Yeah,
Wow.
It's
history.
amazing.
History.
It really is history making.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's in the playoffs. They'll probably make it through round.
So he's extending his record.
Yeah.
He will probably retire. Well, it was like the next day he announced he was retiring.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, he did. I didn't know
Yes,
that.
he did.
Okay.
Good for him. I like that.
Yeah.
Was that 4?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't really give a.
Yeah.
I didn't really give.
I like Jordan Woods. Great ones there.
Yeah, and then
Jimmy
think
Johnson is the greatest
Jimmy Johnson.
stock car driver to ever sit beside
it really is
behind the wheel.
He's amazing.
He is.
And you know what I'm loving? I mean, I'm rooting for Bubba Wallace right now because I love the Jordan Hamlin collaboration. That I just love it.
You mentioned F1. I'm a Kyle Larson guy because I think he is the greatest driver, especially of this generation.
Yeah.
Of most versatile, right? Like
Yeah.
he can get in anything and be competitive. He's going to be in the Indy 500 again this year. Like that's my guy. I don't know that he's a Mount
I think the
Rushmore,
thing
but-
that's interesting about F1 right now is what is really going to turn out to be the thing that uncovers the magic that Verstappen has and Hamilton had, and then Lando and Piastri. It's like they move those rules around so much. It's like, what is it that makes it seems that Verstappen is so adaptable. He can understand his car and just make it do whatever it needs to do in the moment.
Yeah.
But it is a fascinating, and that was pretty new. That's a couple of years.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how to.
I like that.
It's a
though.
car on a pedestal. Like
Yeah, it's a lot of it's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Well, Wayne, thank you for sitting down with us today. Pleasure having you.
This has been great.
Great
Yeah,
catching up,
enjoyed it.
talking
Yeah.
technology with you. It's been awesome. The whole VCIO world.
Yeah.
We didn't really get into security that much, though.
We didn't.
We got to
We do
get
it
you to
again.
sit down with us again to talk security.
I think it would be fun to talk security and trends there as well.
yeah.
We'll do it again.
Audience, feel free to connect with Wayne on LinkedIn. Please like, comment, let us know what you'd like to see next.
Subscribe,
Okay?
review, all the things.
All the things.
Whatever platform
Yeah.
you're on.
Yeah.
Thanks for sitting down
Appreciate
with us,
it.
Wayne.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
It's been a blast.